So if you are connecting with us for the first time on the Universal Asian, uh, then welcome and thank you for joining us. If you have been with us before, then welcome back. Thank you very much for continuing to support us. Um, just as a brief introduction of me and the magazine, as this may be the first time for any of you to even hear of the magazine. Um, my name is Tara Footner, and I'm the creator and editor-in-chief of the magazine portal called The Universal Asian. I was adopted from the US, or to the US from South Korea, and grew up in Oregon, just outside of Portland. But I pretty much spent the entirety of my adult life abroad as an expat. I started in Japan, moved to the UAE, and now I'm living in France. Next week, I'm temporarily moving to Italy. So, I'll quickly introduce how the Universal Asian came to be. So thanks to 2020's movements and excitement, so to speak, everything kind of moved to working from home, and it created opportunities for creative spaces. So I decided to launch a magazine, though it's intended to be more of a platform or portal space to connect Asians who may or may not as identify as fully being Asian. The reason for this is that growing up in a predominantly small white town in Oregon, I struggled to find role models who looked like me in mainstream media, or who were doing what normal jobs that I might want to do in the future. So even as an adult and being an expat, I've met people who have this similar stories about growing up Asian, but not necessarily feeling like they fit in or identify as such. Um, so when I began to search about the idea of the Universal Asian, I found that there are many people in our community who are doing different things in small pockets of areas, but are hard to find. So I decided to bridge our activities through, or try to bridge them through, a magazine style portal that would be an open space for us to share our voices and experiences with others who might be looking for a similar type of community. So that was back in June when we first launched. And here we are in 2021, bringing out more and more content and looking for as much collaboration with others as possible. So that's how we got here with today with Mila, our Empress Han. We are so excited and honored to be able to host this event in collaboration with Empress Han. It's my pleasure to introduce her as a reunited Korean adoptee, poet, artist, and activist. She lives in Atlanta, Georgia with her partner and two children. And this is her first musical poetry album, um, which will release May 1st, but tonight is your sneak peek. So without further ado, I'll pass the mic over to Empress Han.
Yay! First of all, thank you so much, Tara, for hosting this. It's been really cool, just getting to connect with you, and I love the concept of the Universal Asian. I think probably a lot of people here could relate to some aspect of what you were sharing as well. But also, I'm just like so happy to see all of you. Thank you so much for being here, and so many of you have just been so supportive in so many different ways along my journey. Some of you I've known for a while, some of you I've met more recently, but I'm just really, really grateful for you all being here, and I'm really looking forward to sharing these videos with you. Before we share, we'll get to that really quick. I just wanted to give kind of a little bit of background so that as you're watching and engaging with the project, that kind of understand the context. So as Tara said, this is going to be my first ever musical poetry album. I am primarily a poet, but started experimenting in more recent years with adapting my poetry to music and sound and vocals. The compilation that I've put together for you are 3 different music videos: Han, Mother, Kind, and there are 3 different tracks from the upcoming album. And so Shrine is actually going to be the first of a trilogy of albums. So I'm releasing Shrine in May, and then Pyre I'll release in November, and then Ash I'm going to release in the new Lunar New Year. And so the purpose of it is really to explore my journey, but I'm hoping others will also feel seen and heard as a transracial, transnational adoptee. So in the first sequence, the video Han, it's essentially a visual interpretation of experiencing Han as a transnational, transracial adoptee. And for those who aren't familiar with the concept, it's a Korean cultural concept that basically Dr. Michael Shin, Korean scholar, has defined it as a traumatic loss of identity, both individually and collectively. So I'm going to say that again: a traumatic loss of identity, both individually and collectively, okay? And it's rooted in Korea's experience of colonization. I'm sure a lot of you know about Japan occupying Korea, but then also the Korean War that literally divided the nation in half. And there are families that have remained separated ever since then. But I think as Korean adoptees, we experience Han and really transracial, transnational adoptees as a whole being separated from our families and our origins. I think we experience that really intensely. The second sequence is called Mother, and as the title might imply, it explores the experience of mother loss. Through it, it kind of searches and expresses the profound grief and irrevocable loss of being severed from one's mother, specifically through adoption. But obviously, I know that there are plenty of people who can relate to that mother loss for different reasons. And then the third and final sequence, Kind, it explores transracial, transnational adoption in the context of AAPI history and the larger systems of imperialism, colonialism, war, and empire. And for me, Kind is a kind of a reflection of the search and struggle to find identity and to find belonging because of, you know, the traumatic and irrevocable loss and separation from our families and origins. Kind of even what Tara alluded to, it can be really difficult to figure out, you know, where do we belong? Where is our community? Who are our people? So that's basically what's going to be in the video. It's 13 minutes long, just so you know. It's not going to drag on forever, but yeah, I hope that there are pieces of this that will help you to feel seen and also give you permission to feel the things that you feel along your journey. And I'm just really hoping to connect with you all in a meaningful way through this. I'm feeling emotional.
That was so powerful. So beautiful.
Thank you. I'm like shaky right now. I wasn't expecting. Sorry. I'm so glad you all are here though. We're the first people that I have shared this with, other than like my partner and a few, really literally like just a few other people. So I'm so grateful that you all are here to share in this moment. I'm so grateful for you all. And here I'm gonna share, I saw Chris talk about the lyrics. I do have a link here with the words.
I gave it as a PDF.
Oh, did you?
Oh,
Okay.
In the
Thank
chat.
you.
And
Sorry, I missed.
No,
Sorry, I
you
missed
couldn't
that.
see. You couldn't see them. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
And then I shared them as it was going as well. So we're gonna open it up for a Q&A. You can put your questions in the chat box and we'll try to get them, or you can unmute yourself and ask away.
Or if you want to express, you know, reactions, responses, you know, that's cool too.
Not really a question, but I just absolutely loved Kind, and it was the perfect ending to the first two parts. Thank you so much. I have my hand on my heart because it's beating really fast, but I'm sure some people or most of us can relate. So I'm here with you all, and I'm really honored to be here with you all. So thank you, everyone, and thank you, Mila.
Thank you, Soul, so much for sharing your thoughts and for being here.
Ryan?
Hey Mila, thank you so much for creating this space. I'm just like so thankful to be surrounded by so many adoptees right now. It's so rare to be in a space like this, and just watching all the comments and just how much relation there is just like makes me feel so good. Mila, I'm just so proud of you. I recently met Mila, but we've talked a lot and just become such close friends so quickly. I just am so proud of your work, Mila. Proud of you for sharing your words. And I was just wondering if you do all your own filming.
Yeah, so this is honestly the first time that I've ever done anything like this. Prior to this, what I just shared with you, I have never tried anything like this. And with COVID, with what was, you know, obviously with the pandemic, you know, there was, I was very limited, but, you know, my partner and I were talking about how sometimes limitations actually really give birth to creativity and kind of force you, when you're forced to work within certain confines, then you figure out a way to make it work. And so, you know, originally I wasn't even planning on doing videos, but then I was just kind of like with Han, Mother, Kind, I think those 3 tracks in particular, I just felt really compelled and moved to try to visualize what those pieces were about. Oh, and I forgot to share too. So some of you already know this, but the young girl in the first video, Han, that's my daughter. So I think that to me adds another layer of, I'm getting emotional, of emotion and depth and profundity that I didn't choreograph her at all. She just naturally, she loves to dance. And so what I did is I just said, I was like, I'm gonna play this song that mommy wrote. And then I just want you to just do what you do. And so, you know, obviously I edited it and clipped it and put it together, but that was her own interpretation. You know, I explained the song to her, we went through the lyrics together. And so I think that layer for me, I don't know, like it was just very obviously meaningful, but I can't even find the words for it. I think that's why I did the video, because it just, yeah. But anyway, so yeah, I did do all my own filming. I used my iPhone here and, you know, obviously use some effects to alter, like some filters and effects to alter it. But just kind of over time really tried to, yeah, I think I was just trying to visualize what the pieces were about.
Hi, Mila, can you hear me?
Yay, hi, yes.
Hi, I tried to do my video, but it wants me to like leave and go do something in my settings. So I was like, I don't want to leave.
Oh,
So sorry, there's no video of
it's
me.
okay. I'm glad to hear your voice.
I'm so grateful I found you. I can't remember how I found you, but I remember that the image I saw of you it stunned me in a very deep way. I can't describe how powerful you looked in just one image I saw you. And I just remember thinking, I was meant to know her. I was meant to be inspired by her. I was meant to follow you and your work because it touches me so deeply on a personal level. And every time I see something you've created, I can imagine the pain and the depths you have to dig to get there, to be able to reach down and pull this out and create something that reaches so many people. I can't explain to you how important your existence is for me, because your creativity and being able to express all these things that other people can't find the words for is so inspiring. And sorry, I don't have a question. I just wanted to tell you how much your work has meant to me personally, how inspiring you are to me, and how grateful I am that the universe has brought us together during a time of such struggle. And I'm finding so much power and strength in you. And I want you to know just how valuable you are as a person to so many people. Please keep doing what you do.
Wow, thank you. I'm trying to just take that in. Thank you very much. That means a lot to me, more than you might know. It's been a long journey.
Yeah.
And so I'm so grateful to be connected with you, and obviously your work also really resonates with me. It's funny, my daughter has this sticker, the ones who misbehave, and she put it on one of her favorite containers, and she holds it and looks at it. She just, I don't know, it's I think it's really meaningful for her to also know, when your book came, and which by the way, Hannah has a great book called The Ones Who Misbehave. You should read it. But when it came in, it was really cool because we had a conversation around it, because she was curious, who is this person and what does she do and what's this about? And so we had a really meaningful conversation. So thank you for what you do and providing a positive example of an Asian female for my daughter.
Well, yeah, we're all just trying to find our people,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Hi, Mila. First and foremost, thank you so much for being here. This is my first time attending this event, so thank you everyone for having me. My name is Sierra. I just wanted to say it took me such a long time. I might get a little emotional. It took me such a long time to find people who I could relate to. Rain, who you see right there, was one of the first Korean adoptees I met online. And meeting someone I can relate to just has such an impact. Your work has made such meaning for me. As Hannah was saying, it really represents our thoughts, our minds. It's so hard to explain without sounding incoherent, for me anyway. I do have a question as to what you say to people who invalidate you. Invalidate as in, my mom, I love my mom, don't get me wrong, my adoptee mom actually says, we adopted you, we brought you to love you, we took you in, you should be happy. It's, as I said, invalidating. What would you say to that? If someone were to watch your video, this is just from my own learning experience.
Yeah. Well, thank you, first of all, for being here. I'm so happy to connect with you, and I love me some Rain. We've been connected for a really long time, actually, a long time. Probably it was a decade or something. It's been a long time. Yeah. So good person to connect with. And thank you for just sharing your heart. And yeah, so that's a really good question, and I'm sure a lot of people here would have good things to say as well, because I do feel like that's kind of like a consistent part of our experiences as adoptees, is always coming up against challenges to our reality, right? People invalidating us, sometimes demeaning us even, and making us feel bad for feeling, essentially. And so I think that that's something that I've had to manage a lot. I mean, it still happens, right? If it comes up that I'm adopted, immediately people, oh, you're so lucky, or you must be so grateful, or your parents must be such good people. That's a tough thing. And honestly, to be honest, a lot of times I'm just like, I stumble, like in those moments when I'm invalidated or somebody says something to me, a lot of times I don't know what to say, because no matter how many times it happens, it still catches me off guard, because I think, again, it's just like, what do you say to someone like that? So a lot of times, honestly, for my own sake, I don't engage, because what ends up happening most of the time is that if I engage and I can tell the person is not open to actually listening and hearing about my experience, it just causes me more harm, because then I'm trying to explain it to somebody who doesn't actually care. Now, I will say that there have been instances where somebody's assumptions were wrong, were misguided, but then as I did talk with them, they kind of were like, oh, I hadn't ever heard that perspective before. So, usually it's like I have to test it out and feel it to see where the person is at. But I usually just, kind of like what was shown in the video, I've started framing it for people where, I'm kind of like, well, adoption actually leads to family separation. And usually it's very like, what? But you have a family. Like, well, I had a family before coming here, and that's usually a good feel for where the person is at. If they get really offended and just kind of, get all in a huff and a puff, then I'm kind of like, okay, that's the cue to just disengage and walk away. If they're more curious, kind of like, oh, really? Tell me more, and they see, then it's kind of like, okay, we can talk more about it. But that's usually the exception rather than the norm, especially if the person is white, just to be honest.
Thank you. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
thank you.
I do have another random question. Is there a story behind your tattoo?
Oh, yes. There is actually. Tara and I were talking about it actually. So it's hydrangea, and hydrangea is indigenous to both America and Korea, but it also it's this really interesting flower as well, because you know how people give flowers and flowers have symbolism. And so what I found so interesting about hydrangea is that depending on the relationship between the giver and the recipient, it can either be symbolic of compassion and care, or the opposite, it can be symbolic of being aloof and distant. And which I'm not sure why you would give flowers to someone if you felt aloof and distant from them, but that's the symbolism of the flower. And so once I found that out as well, I think that kind of is representative as well of my relationships with both Korea and America, kind of feeling at times like it's all that I have, but at the same time, feeling very distant and disconnected from both places. So yeah, that's the tattoo.
Thank you so much. I find that very relative to what we've been discussing, looking at tonight. I actually have been looking for another tattoo. I've been looking to find another tattoo, so you've inspired me. I think I might get not the same one, but something similar in its nature. Yeah, mine actually is my adoptee date when I was flown to America, when I met my family. So when I get a tattoo, I want something to be meaningful, but yours definitely lights up.
The King Protea flower is really cool too. I don't know if you know about that flower. It's indigenous to South Africa, so that it doesn't have to do with where it is, but it's this type of flower. The seeds, they don't germinate until they've been burned. So basically, that has to go through fire in order to bloom. I have a piece about that coming up on one of my other albums, but
So
that's
actually, yeah, that reminds me, Mila. Do you have any insight on the grieving process? Obviously, you know, I heard in your music, like I've lost it all. Like it's lost, it's trauma, grieving process. That's actually what I wanted to make another tattoo about, was about grieving. So I think your flower definitely is more easy to draw out on the skin. But I don't know if you have any ideas for that. Like, is your work based off the grieving process as well? Like the cycles, the phases that
Oh
you go
yeah.
through?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like as a poet and a artist, all of my, I mean, really, my work is just rooted in grief and trauma. But I think the concept of Han and being Empress Han is this idea of having sovereignty over my grief and my trauma and redefining it to be what I want it to be. And so to create something, you know, there's this quote that I love that says, in a time of destruction, create something. And so for me, art and poetry has literally saved my life. I mean, it's how I've been able to hold my grief, but process it and move through it. I'm not afraid of my grief. Like I embrace it. And I think that there's so much power and energy in it when we're not afraid to sit with that and to allow it to teach us. Because I think there's ways, even all of us here, like we're connecting with each other in a really meaningful way right now. And even though we all have this kind of collective trauma and grief, we're able to support each other and connect with one another as a result of that. And so I think, I don't know, I guess my one thing is with grief is like not to be afraid of it and to give yourself the permission to feel it and to move through it and understand it won't crush you, even though in the moment it feels crushing. It actually, I feel like it can empower us and strengthen us when when we're not afraid of it anymore.
That's how you learn and grow. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, hi Mila. Sierra said, you were my first friend that I made, adoptee friend, Korean adoptee friend as an adult. And it was after a long time of really being very open kind of to the universe of finding a community and having, you know, that connection to understand more my own identity. And it's meant the world to me to have met you, and like the wisdom that you were just sharing a moment ago, like all of that wisdom that you shared with me one-on-one too, and through your music and through your art and poetry, um, it's been a great deal to me. And so I wanted to thank you for that. I also wanted to share some of my reactions to your piece tonight. And I just, I guess I didn't think too much about what it would be like to join today and to watch the preview. But it, you know, kind of surprised me just how emotional I got immediately in the beginning with Han, and then just building throughout, because it's just the genuine pain of the grief and loss. So, you know, I'm so glad that you actually did the video along with the music, because I think that, you know, it just makes it really, really more emotive for me, and really just, I think I'm gonna have to listen to it once it comes out officially by myself with a box of tissues a couple more times. But for somebody who I don't do too many like artistic or you know, pieces, I would say, to be able to kind of live through your creative expression and feel those emotions, it's pretty incredible. So just want to say thank you for your friendship, your leadership, you know, what you embody, your principles and values, and then just thank you for all of your time and effort, you know, creating these works.
Oh, thanks, Carolyn. I love you. I'm so grateful that we've connected. I mean, I feel like we really connect on a very deep, like sister level.
Yeah.
So I'm just really grateful that you were able to make it tonight. And I'm just really glad that you're here. And thank you for sharing your reactions and your thoughts on it. I'm sorry that it like made you cry, but I also know that that's just like inherent to our journeys as adoptees. We have to let ourselves cry.
Yeah, it shows how much that your work has resonates with people, right? Because to be able to just uplift those feelings so quickly too. Really, thank you. And maybe I'll just end with a question. Just curious, like, how long this has taken you to create, and then what was the like difficult and or surprising parts of creating these pieces?
Those are good questions. I mean, as far as like how long it took me, I mean, I'm about to be 46 in June, so I guess like 45 years. um, and I say that like jokingly, but also seriously, because so this does feel like a really huge moment to me, because for so long, I did not feel like I had the right to refer to myself as an artist or as a poet. The home and family that I grew up in was very like suppressive in that way. And I shoved that part of myself so deep down for so long. Um, it's funny, I married an artist, and for so long, he even was just kind of like, I mean, you write poetry, so doesn't that make you a poet? Or you do art, so doesn't that make you an artist? And I just felt like I can't, but I'm not. And so I think that this project, even the process of it, has been me trying to basically assert and claim that, claim like this is who I am, and I can create, and I can be a poet and an artist. And so I think this has been a really long journey. As far as like, more practically, I've been working on this project for the past year. So when the pandemic started, or when, I guess once we had to shelter in place, which I remember it was like March 13th, because that was like the last day that my kids were in school, like at the building. And from that point on, they're still doing virtual school now. And so there's been 4 of us, my partner's been working from home, and it's just been like 4 of us in this 900 square foot apartment. And I'm an introvert, and I just felt like I was losing my mind. And so at night, after the kids were in bed, and my partner and I have what we call introvert time, where we just like do our own thing for a little while. And so I started at night just processing. And I think being in the pandemic for so many people has been triggering, right? It brings up so many, whether you feel isolated or alienated, it can bring up issues of abandonment, or if you not being able to be around family, or if you have a difficult relationship with your family, it can trigger that. Like, it just feel like there's been so many things that have been triggering about the pandemic. And so I just had so much emotion to process. And then obviously everything that was going on in the world too. And so this really just came out organically from me just starting to process things in the midst of the pandemic. And I noticed there were a lot of themes that I was processing. It wasn't intentional. I didn't sit down and wasn't like, I'm going to do an album and I'm going to do a project. It just kind of over time, I was like, oh, there's themes here. And then I was sharing it with my partner, and he's like, maybe you should like try to do an EP or something. I was like, I've never done anything like that. Like how, but again, it was like, okay, stop saying I can't do this. And if you want to do it, just do it. And I think too, as far as like colonialism, I think, the colonizers have colonized art and poetry as well, like by teaching people and saying that you have to have this degree or this type of training or this, background in order to be an artist or in order to do something. And so I think even this is an act of me being like, no, I don't have that training. That doesn't mean that I can't do it. If I want to do it, then I'm going to do it. And I think as an adoptee, that's so important, because for so long, for our lives, like we just get erased, right? And people tell us who we're supposed to be and how we're supposed to be. And so I think that this has been such a powerful act for me to be like, I'm going to be who I am, you know, and so that's just, I guess, over the past year, that's just kind of been, it just kind of happened organically over time. Yeah. So, and now I'm here sharing it with you, and I'm really grateful.
Awesome. So some people have asked where they can access or buy without going to YouTube, if it's possible.
Yes. So on May 1st, so I guess that's about a week from now, I'm going to have the entire album Shrine. It's going to be available for free download from I'll have it on my website. It will also be on Bandcamp, and then you know, it'll be on like Spotify and iTunes. But if you want to download it, it will be available to download for free from my website. I'm definitely anti-capitalist, so I want this to be accessible to everyone. Now, I think I am going to set up some different kind of things, like if people want to donate at some point, and I'll have some swag, like I've got a few tote bags and Empress Han pins, and obviously everyone here, with your permission, I wanted to send you each a sticker and a thank you note. But yeah, so May 1st, the album will be available for download from my website and from Bandcamp, and then also you can listen to it on Spotify and iTunes.
Oh, awesome. So congratulations, Rain. And thank you so much, Empress Han, for sharing and giving us this full preview of Shrine. So for everyone, thank you so much for joining us, and we hope that you've enjoyed this event by the Universal Asian. Please look for the full or the releases. I don't know if you got it, but I put the link for Empress Han's website so you can access that, or just follow her on Instagram as well. So thank you. If you enjoyed this, please come back. There's more events happening through the Universal Asian, both for adoptees and non-adoptees. And in the meantime, please check your emails. We will basically do a follow-up email in order to get your mailing address so that Mila can send you the stickers. And we'll also ask for feedback about the event if you want to share your thoughts about things like that, so that we can continue to create these and collaborate. If you yourself have anything that you want to share with the magazine platform, please don't hesitate to get in touch. And we would love to put together an event as well to share what you are doing and your voice. So with that, thank you for joining, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much, Mila.
Thank you, everyone, so much. Love you all. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. So much gratitude.